Welcome back to episode 6, box 6 of the Canadian Small Cent Penny Hunt. We are trying to get all of the pennies from 1920 complete set all the way up to 2012. So this book covers from 1920 up until I believe it's 1988 there. You see we're just missing a few, missing some of the tougher ones to get the varieties. The 1985 pointed 5 and the 1953 shoulder fold. And then, of course, the earliest ones as well. We're missing pretty much all of the King George V's, except for 2 that we found actually in the very first hunt. So we've got most of this book, except for the hard ones. And then same thing in the more modern ones. We also have all from 1989 all the way up to 2012. I've added in the magnetic and non-magnetic versions. Go back and check some of my earlier episodes. You can see we are missing some of the varieties that are not in this book, but we are just going to collect what is listed in the book. So we're looking for that 2006 P, and we're looking for the 2010 magnetic, the 2007 non, and the 2008 non-magnetic. And that's it. And we've got a pretty good set of everything in here as far as the quality of the coins that are in the book. So we will do upgrades if we find something even better. Hope you guys are enjoying this series. I do have my microscope up. If you are interested in the microscope and you like the way it works, there is a link in my description. You can go check that out on Amazon. I am an affiliate with Amazon, so that does definitely help me if you can do that. But you don't have to. But if you are looking for something, that has been a pretty good microscope. And we also got the lighting system here, and that has also worked very well as well for the setup. So, all right, guys, let's get into it. We've got another box here. I think in the last hunt I had said we were on box 4. I'll probably edit that in post, and because it's actually box 5. I missed one when I was kind of looking back through. So anyway, we've got a full box of pennies here. This is more of the ones that we were dealing with before. So these have, a lot of them actually have the aluminum foil wrap that they are wrapped up in. So they're a pain to get into, but they were definitely lots of good stuff. They definitely weren't searched, so I'm happy to go through these. Then we've got some overstuffed rolls in here as well. I don't know if you can see that there, but there's a bunch of overstuffed here, and I think these ones as well. And they are not wrapped in tin foil or aluminum foil, so obviously a bit of a mix. We've got some other stuff as well, so let's hope we get a good hunt. All right, let's get into it. We're going to start off with roll number 1. I will bring you back in as I find stuff.
What you mean when you say you a new hate? What you mean when you play like all night? Nightlife is a highlight. I'm a flat guy, this is skyline. I don't got the time for my problems. I got the time to dissolve them. Music is my oxygen, I'm breathing, no stopping. You remember my oxygen, the music when it's dropping. Something about these vibes provided in these lines. I'm so designed the rhyme, checking my mind. Music being scribed, I got ahead of my time. Beat me prescribed, cause I feed it full of lines. Money ain't nothing, you turn it into something. I'm standing for the money, make you look real funny. Put my own name in discussion, I'm a hustler. Working real hard to show you that I'm coming, So let me tell you that it's going on.
Roll 1 down, and sorry, they all came out as a jumble, so I've already actually cleaned everything up, but there is a 1957 that I found in there. So that is a young head, and I actually didn't check it if there was any hanging variety on this one. Let's just take a quick look. And there's not. So that's it. But first find, we'll keep that one. Well, that was the next roll, and I'm just checking my book here because I believe so that 1986 isn't bad, but I did find a nicer one. So you can see here, it is an upgrade to that 86. So I'll set that one aside, and we got our first upgrade. Roll 3, and this is another keeper, 1963 young head. See if we can get that to focus there. 1963, you can see the young head obverse, some pretty good shape. These are really common. I find tons and tons of these, but I will set it aside anyway. Keep everything before 60 or 63 and before for now. Roll 4, and I thought I'd bring in here because I can already see a bunch of finds. So we've got a bunch of young heads for sure. 64 there. This is a young head. Let's see what year it is. It is a 1963. Let's see, we'll check that. We'll set that one aside. We got 1964. I tend to not keep these. These are super common. I will check it, though, for the hanging 4 variety. 69, 77. Let's see what that is. Got another young head. I've got another old one right behind there as well. It might be a King George, but it looks pretty old. Almost 1953. So we got a 1964 and a 1953. Still the young head. This is the first year of the what they call the young head obverse bust of the Queen, and 52 is the last year of the King George the Sixth obverse. Let's see what else we got here. We got another nice looking. There's a 78. Can check that for the doubling. I know I'm looking for an upgrade to my 83 in my book. That one's not bad. I'll set that one aside. There's another young head there, 1954. So I'll check all those for their hanging varieties. Well, there's an even nicer 83, so I can just put that one back. And there's a nice looking, oh, that's an 83 as well. They've got slightly different toning to them. I notice that sometimes with pennies, and I don't know if it's an age thing or just the way they're manufactured, but some of them get more of a brushed look, and then some of them have kind of a glossy look to them. So, not sure what causes that difference, but yeah, I would say this is probably the nicer of the two. We got 1973 there. Oh, more young heads. 1964. And another young head, 1963. 78. So yeah, so good roll. Lots of good stuff in here. I won't bring you in for all of the young heads because they are relatively common. But I thought I'd bring you in because I could see that there's a few in this roll. 1968 US penny. We're on roll 5, and I just thought I would show you this as I started to pull it out here. So this is what I get when I open up these ones with the aluminum foil wrapping. They're super tight in the rolls, and these are quite thick. There's our multiple layers of aluminum foil, so I usually just have to score it to get at these, and then they just basically, they're all stuck in there. It doesn't come out very well, so I end up with a real mess when I pull these open. So anyway, thought you might be interested in what they look like. I don't know why he's got them wrapped, or whoever it was wrapped them up like this, but they are a pain in the butt to take apart. So this is that same roll, and I've already taken all the copper pennies out, or most of the copper pennies. Just I collect the 80s and stuff, but just the 60s and 70s. And then I have all of the this is actually the first one that had any modern pennies in it. So anything from 2000, 2010 set aside, go through those, look for the magnetic and non-magnetic versions. And then I did get a 1957 as well. And while we're here, might as well check it to see if that has got the hanging variety, and it does not. All right, I'll go through these, check these with a magnet, and move on. We're on roll 7 here, and I'm trying to figure out a way to open these things up without, so that I can actually kind of edge hunt and just lay them out nicely. The problem is, as you can see, I scored all along the line of those pennies. So if there's a good penny in there, I just wrecked it. Anyway, so I won't be doing that anymore, but it just happened that on this one, we've actually got a dime in there. So we're up 9 cents. And if I can get this dime to come out, let's see what it is. And we have, that's a 1968 dime. So that is the first year that could possibly be silver. It doesn't look silver to me. I don't think it is, but we'll check it with a magnet anyway. No, it's attracted to a magnet, so that means it is a nickel dime and just a regular dime, but always nice to get dimes in your penny rolls. All right, well, I won't be scoring those anymore like that, at least not that deeply, but these are a pain to get into. All right, so we're on roll 10. I just thought I'd do a recap because I was kind of finding something small in every roll. And rather than bring you in on every single one, I just thought I'd bring you back, or bring you in at the end here. So we found a 1956 and a 1960 in the young heads. And then we've actually got a 87, a 91, a 92, 89, and a 93 that are all in really nice shape. I have kind of took a peek at the book, and it looks like they'll all be upgrades to the ones I have in the book. So I will set those aside with the others, and we're slowly getting a really nice looking book here. So all right, we will do the same sort of thing. We'll go through, and I'll bring you in if I find something super exciting. Otherwise, I'll probably just do a recap at the end of the roll. Actually, the next roll, and I just thought I'd bring you in on this one because it is the first one we found. It is a 1953 D wheat penny. So set that up as a find. Not particularly rare, but it is the first wheat penny that we found. And we do have a 1967 commemorative in behind there. And what else we got here? Oh, I got 1963 young head. So I'll check that for the hanging 3 and move on to the next. Well, I know I said I was going to bring you in at the end of the row, but anyway, we're on the next roll. It's roll 12, and I did find a couple more US wheat pennies. The 58D and a 55D. But I also found a 1982, and this is a small date copper penny. So it is the harder one to find in the 82 series, and so thought I'd bring you in for that. It is, cannot seem to focus on it at all. Anyway, let's put it on the scale here. I'll show you. It is 3.11 grams exactly, which is what it's supposed to be. And you can see it is a small date. Get my fingers out of the way. Small date, so that is that recurve in the S. The large date is very straight and thicker. So that is definitely the small date copper version. It is not in the greatest shape. Actually, it's not in bad condition. You can see there's not a ton of wear on it, but it is pretty brown. So anyway, I'll set it aside as a find, and we got a couple more wheat pennies as well. Roll 16, and this is probably worth coming in for. We just discovered here in 1940. So one of the earlier King George VI pennies. It is relatively rare to find these, so happy to find a King George. And then I noticed in behind here there is somewhere, looks like a young head right here. Looks like a 1957. So that's nice to get. And there's some other older stuff in here, but I will bring you back in if I find anything as I go through. Roll 20, and not a lot in those last few rolls. So that is all I pulled out is a 1958, two 1962s, pretty decent looking 1981, should upgrade the book, and a nice looking 1996, which also should upgrade my book. So I'll set those aside. Roll 30, and the finds are getting pretty slim. So you can just see here we've got a few of the young heads, 1952, 1960, a 61, and a 63. And that was it out of all 10 of those rolls. Another row down, and we have a few more finds here. So this is actually what I pulled out of that last 10 rolls. And we got another dime to add to the other one. So that's 20 cents we're up. Or 18, I guess. We also got a 57. We got a wheat penny, a couple of 57s, a 61, a 63 in reasonable shape, a 56, and a 51 King George. So not too bad. 10 more to go. Let's see what we get. Haven't found anything for the book, really, other than just the these ones here, which I think are going to upgrade the book. But, you know, we're getting to the point where there's not a whole lot we can find. Other than the rare varieties or the really, really old stuff. So anyway, we'll keep looking. Okay, box 6 is down, and this is what we got in those last 10 rolls. So we did get a 1956, 57, 59, a 61, a 62, 63, and a 64. And we did also get a 62 hanging 2. So I'll throw that up here on the scope so you can see what I saw. And you can see that once the light hits it just right. You can see, where are we there? Always seems to have a hard time showing these hanging 2s, or these hanging varieties here, but it is right. You can see it, it comes up here and then goes across there. So that is the hanging 2 variety. Anyway, we also got a wheat cent in that last bundle. It was also in 1950, so nothing too special. They're all fairly modern wheat pennies. And we did get some slightly older of the Canadian pennies. Nothing in really great shape, so there's nothing going to be replacing any of the older stuff in those books. But we do have some nice shiny ones from the modern pennies. So let's take a look at the books and see what any of those replace. All right, let's start with book 1 here. And let's start with our oldest. It is a 1978. It's pretty decent looking 78. And the 78 we have in here is right there. So there's not a big difference between the two, but pretty close. This one might have a little bit less brown on it. As a matter of fact, it does. It's kind of hard to show on camera there, but the new one that I found is actually a slightly bit brighter. So I might replace that. They're pretty close though. Not a big deal if I don't replace it. Let's look at the 81. And the 81's definitely got a little bit more luster to it than the one that's in there, so I'll replace that one for sure. What else we got? 83. Yeah, so the 83 is definitely a brighter copper color than the one that's in there, so that one will be a good replacement. 86, and that's definitely a replacement there as well. It's quite a bit of brown on that one. Again, it doesn't show up terribly well on camera, but it is definitely brighter. Same thing with that 87. That 87 is, yeah, that's definitely an upgrade as well. And that's it for that book. So I will replace all of those. And let's take a quick look here at the more modern stuff. So we got an 89 there. It's pretty decent. It's just the way the light's shining out. It looks really good. Yeah, it's going to be hard to beat that, I think. This is a nice 89. Yeah, pretty darn close. I would say, though, that that new one is actually a little bit nicer. So we will replace that 89. What else we got here? 91. And the 91s, again, really close. I got pretty good ones in here, so it's going to be hard to replace anything here. That 92 is definitely a better looking one, though. So definitely replacing that 92. The 93... Again, just a little bit more gloss on each of these, which is why I had pulled these aside. And then we got a 95 and a 96. Now, the 95 is pretty decent. It's in there, but I think that 96 will be an improvement over the one in the book. And that 95 probably is too. Just a little. Just a step up. So there you go. We got, what do we get? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6... 79, 10. So 10 or 11 of them, because I think pretty much all of these were going to replace the ones I had in the book. So we got 10 or 11 replacements. I think that pretty much nails down these books, other than maybe this 2002. It's got a little bit of issues on it, so we might be able to replace that. But most of the modern ones are in pretty decent shape now. So that's it. Nothing new. We're still at 88 out of 110 in these books. There's a few holes that we still need to find, and it is getting tough to find them. We're only on box 6, but we are down to really just the difficult pennies to find. So that 1953 shoulder fold, that 1985 pointed 5, those ones are definitely tougher varieties. And of course, all the old King George V's, don't find them very often. So anyway, we will keep hunting, and we'll see how long it takes us to get, hopefully, a full book here. So, or full 2 books. All right, guys, thanks so much for watching. I really appreciate you guys coming along, and hopefully you're enjoying this hunt, and I'll be back with box 7.